Next word is probably my last one here. So what this whole thing's about me is, I mean, as a university.
You should have Twain. He was impersonating you in section. Because we were practicing what would go on, and you should have him do one of your impersonations or impersonations.
What? What are you talking about?
Nervous tics or whatnot. Yeah, I got a big skin. Maybe some other time. I had a student do an impersonation of me once at the last school that I was at, because I play with my fingers and I play with my ring, and I have a lot of nervous habits like that. I used to wear sandals to class and sit cross-legged on the table when I was younger. I got broken of that with the professionalization process. And I had a student do an impression of me. They got up and sat cross-legged on the desk and started going like.
I was going to swipe your coffee mug on the way in, but cheap shot. You kind of goes to that a lot, so.
This is my crutch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone needs what they say. One of the things about public speaking is trying to slow yourself down. And so this is one way. I don't know if I talk fast or not, but this is one way that I try and slow myself down. I talked once without it. And Sac State was probably the worst lecture I gave there all last year.
Is it coffee?
It's tea. It's not. There's no caffeine in it. Just having
Coffee
liquid.
slows you down?
I don't. I don't put caffeine because that will hype me up.
Yeah.
Unless I'm exhausted. But just the act is like a total crutch.
In regards to kind of us, like surrounding you a little bit, that kind of intimidates you at all, or anything?
Yeah, and then at one point I kind of moved in. Yeah, because the desks in here are not movable, so I can't get put in the mush pot or whatever else.
What did you think when we walked out? Yeah, like it's going down.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I'm glad honestly, I was impressed with everybody leaving. I was impressed everyone came back in different clothes. That's like a real quick hallway change. We should go into the theater collectively. I had a number of different thoughts. I also thought, well, why the hell did I put all that work in assembling the midterm? Why was I working all day to get my lecture together?
Hey, but you didn't make any slides.
There weren't any slides to it.
So, it's like you knew it was coming. You're like, oh, I shouldn't even bother making any PowerPoint slides.
Yeah, I was glad
Subconscious.
that part worked out nicely.
PowerPoint.
I'm not lugging around my computer today. Although I will say one criticism of your performance that I had, you let me keep the room.
Yeah, I
We
said that
thought
when we
of
got
that.
outside. We were like, oh,
We
it's
felt
outside.
bad.
And we felt bad. We were
Always
bad.
try and kick the bosses out of their space. Always try and choose an uncomfortable location for the bosses. Right? The fact that we're in this room, it's the room that I feel comfortable in. Because it's the room where I make you listen to me. Right?
That's true.
Like when I was negotiating with UC Office of the President, they'd always try and get us to meet at UCOP or in their space. And one time we succeeded in getting them to meet with us in the basement of where our union office was, just some dookie building on Telegraph. And they were very uncomfortable in that room because it was a small space. They didn't have all of their clericals nearby. The Wi-Fi was sketchy. They were really off their game because of the space that we controlled. But I guess you guys don't have a space that you control necessarily.
Control the hallways you walk in.
I mean, if you think about it, it is our university.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, we really do control this building and the entire campus.
Which kind of makes it more, that might be even more radical because you're taking the space that is my space and saying it's not my space. But booting me out would have been a nice confrontational thing.
Do you have any other criticisms in terms of how we structured it, or did you buy our social movement argument?
No, I bought the social movement argument. The whole time I was trying to think, well, what stuff can I say to them to kind of talk them down from where you all are at. So I was hearing your arguments, and they're all valid. They're all logical. Students you all have things to be worried about. You all are in a very dependent situation. You're at the whim of other people all the time. dynamics, or the people who choose to take a social labor class that doesn't really meet any requirements to my knowledge, maybe org studies.
Yeah.
Org studies is the only requirement, so nobody actually has to be here. This is a lower division elective for almost all of you. So I wasn't thinking, so when that's one of the thoughts that I had was, okay, I can like try and throw the privileged student thing at them, but that's really like a Davis-wide story, more than anything particular to who's gonna take this class. I figure everybody has personal motivations to take the class as far as some kind of knowledge you wanna gain, a personal experience that makes you relate to the material. Or once I was trying to explore that angle and it wasn't quite happening. I didn't have any really good threats to make, except I've got nothing to lose.
What could we do to like help you in your career? Is there anything that we could do to like write a letter to your department and ask that you not be?
That
If
probably
there's
would,
anything we could,
you can. I'm not sure what difference it'll make.
If we wrote 40 letters to the head of the sociology department with like, hey, you should send this person back on, and if we got 40 of them, do you think that would be?
I don't know, some of you were in Vicky's class.
Yeah, I mean, like,
You have a
I'm
sense-
a peer advisor and I see her every day, so, like, we knew that we had that for you, like, as nice students, because I think the reason why this was so successful was because you did give us the tools, and we have figured out how to use them, and you were an effective teacher for us to mobilize those concepts, so, like, we do care.
And, okay, I'll tell you everything that I think I'm allowed to say about departmental decisions. Hiring decisions are not made until May or June, which is really, really, really short notice and really inconvenient, because Sac State has already offered me all their classes for the fall. And I can't say to them, well, maybe I'll take your classes, depends on what happens at Davis, right? And here, a year-long contract is much better. I make half as much at Sac State as I make here, and I don't make a lot here, right? So I like teaching at Davis, if nothing else than for that reason. But I have to kind of balance out the yeses I have to give first versus the maybes that are going to be figured out for months. The department cannot make those decisions about any kind of hiring until they see how much money the school gives them. That is based on enrollment for this year. Based on their enrollment figures for the department for this year, they decide how many seats they're going to have to fill next year. They decide what classes will be offered. Once they get those figures, then there's a totem pole of who gets classes. Professors are obviously set. They don't teach a whole lot of classes, but they're secure. Everything else about there are going to be recent graduates who are going to be, the department will like to take care of, because they try and take care of their recent grads, which is why I'm teaching here. I do have my PhD. Nobody seems to know that. My other class doesn't know that either. So basically, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole behind people that are coming around now who haven't gotten any support and need support. So the odds of me being brought back are low just because bigger people got to eat first, for the most part. But anything awesome you want to say is going to be great. My professors are good. Feedback for Vicky is one of my references on my CV, my academic resume. So anything that you can tell her to make her think highly of me, she's someone that people will contact if they have any interest in me at all. That's probably the best way around it. You know. But as far as me being back, that just depends on if I plug a hole that they need to fill, for the most part.
Well, we can all write letters to Vicki and, you know, be like, we know you don't know yet whether or not you can hire this person back, but like, we're saying that, you know, if you find the money that you should, something like that.
Used to cover it.
Yeah.
Sure. That'll be, she'll wonder what the hell we're doing. Because Brian, the last instructor, he works with her pretty closely, so she probably knows last year's story. And she's going to have this year's story. She's like, what the hell are you people doing? You're doing something outside of the
Teaching
box.
real life lessons.
Creativity. Creativity is right. So, I mean, what else is there to do? What do we do now?
Do you mean today or?
Next author.
Today or
Today we have
for
12 minutes.
3 more? Yeah, we're not going to do anything. I'm not going to. I'm not gonna try and pretend I'm an instructor. I'm just a boss.
I mean, we can take your idea of watching Horrible Bosses since it's a labor movie. So, we can watch Horrible Bosses.
Just don't kidnap me.
Well, I mean, you're not necessarily our boss, just an authority figure.
Yeah, I'm not your, I'm the one that I set up all the hoops that you have to jump through temporarily.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing, I'm not Dwayne's boss either. Dwayne can completely undermine and
I'm outta here.
every single thing that I say. Maybe he is, maybe not. And there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. He's hired by the university for this class, and no matter how much mortal enemies we are, there's nothing that I can do at all. So I'm not actually the boss of anybody. I'm a very powerless authority figure, except for the hoops that I make you jump through. So we negotiated the thing. What was it, 3 pages? And you got
I thought you said 1.
2 to 3. 2
2 to 3.
to 3. And
Incorporate 2 readings, right?
Incorporate
Or 2 readings
The two concepts.
from the week's to come.
yeah,
So
Is it-
readings and concepts.
Is it, do you want it from, like,
You should just
beginning of class?
write it up and put it on
midterm now?
SmartSite.
Do you want it, like, from the midterm or from the beginning of class?
I'll write something up. That should just be left open. Because I don't know what knowledge
Yeah.
you used.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And the stuff, like, what do we have left? Like, we're going to be talking about, I tried to. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Forever 21 and garment workers. We're going to be talking about, there's one piece I think we have,
International boycotts.
I'm probably going to cut that one because we don't have that much stuff left. Or I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna I'll post the prompt on my understanding. Of course, as a union, you all have the right to say this is not what we agreed to. We've got what do they call it? A tentative agreement, a TA. So we've TA'd on these parameters, and I'm going to write up the prompt. And if it doesn't fit what you thought it was going to be, then of course we'll have to do this all over again next week. But I think we have a firm understanding. I'll have to redo the syllabus. The stuff we have left is, Forever 21, human rights, like United Nations stuff, street vendors. These are not necessarily going to be the most relevant for what we just had in here. So it'll probably be stuff from earlier on. So whatever inspired you, I'm kind of curious, like how, like in addition to hearing what you all said, when I was getting surrounded and ganged up on.
I wouldn't say that. Surrounded, yeah, but not being up on.
Well, that's
It was
what-
getting there. It was
That's
a
what
little
they all
bit over there.
We were just reclaiming the space, man.
That was an experience.
Ganging up, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you're supposed to gang up on bosses, right? So anyway, I'm kind of curious to hear more elaboration of that stuff. So that's cool. I'll get the prompt out, and I'll redo the syllabus, I suppose.
Sounds great.
I don't know.